Welcome our fellow EDC family to the Carry or Bury YouTube channel. As always, I'm your host, Prophet. My partner in the EDC world is, as always, the Professor. You may also hear from or get opinions from either Herc or Cuz. They will make appearances on this channel, hopefully lots, and in the future. Please keep those names in your memory tubes. All right, folks, today is a bit special. We're going to open up together everything that it came with, the Scaphoid by none other than Jim Skelton, an icon in knives and in photography in today's EDC world. Jim obviously knows nothing of this newer channel, nor does he know anything of me or the Professor, or anyone we're affiliated with at that matter. Maybe he might recognize us after the video airs one day. Who knows? But the reason I bring that up is that we purchased this knife from him, and it came in this neat little box. We'll put aside for now, and we will clean it up, and we'll talk a little bit about the Scaphoid. Jim is one of the guys that got me interested in EDC all those years ago, and I appreciate him. I just want to give that disclosure now. All right, let's get into some measurements quick so we can get on to the good stuff. So I will tell you, however, right now that we will be doing the full carry or bury on this knife, even though, like I said, Jim got me into the EDC world with his captivating videos, his beautifully shot videos and photography, his honesty, and honestly his character, which really kind of oozes over the normal glass half full personality. I really want to get that out of the way, but I don't want you to think that that had anything to do with my judgment or opinion on the Scaphoid here. I wanted to make this very clear. Although Jim is very special to me, the channel, and where this channel goes in the future for Professor and I, we will review these things like we would anybody's. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about the Scaphoid. So the Scaphoid is weighing in at about right under 113.5 grams, or right around 4 ounces. Pretty much 4 ounces on the flipper, right? Yeah, not on the button or the nose. This is an EDC channel, so 4 ounces on the flipper. Huh? It looks like a nose, I guess. Now what we'll see is some exacts here. The knife has exactly, get my little measuring tool, 3.5 inches of usable blade. Let's get it in there so you can kind of see it. And that gives you all of the cutting geometry here. And it also has about 3.27 millimeters of thickness at the spine, which for our stateside friends is about 128 thou. But believe me when I say that this thing gets super thin behind the edge. Okay, as you can kind of see there. I'll tell you what, this tip is as sharp and pointy as you can get. Well, maybe without the ATF showing up at your home thinking you have like a lightsaber or something. So we've got also about 4.65 inches on the titanium and carbon fiber inlaid handle, giving you just over 8 inches of overall goodness. So I'm going to give you a few moments just to take a peek at this, right? But I do want to bring up a few things as I'm kind of turning the knife over and over in my hand and kind of going from there. I want to talk a little bit about what I talked about in our last video. We're holding off on disassemblies until we get to about 50 likes a video, at least 2 in a row, or 100 subscribers. And with your help, we're going to be getting there very quickly. And another thing I want to bring up is we will be doing a 100 subscriber giveaway. So I'm really excited for that. All you need to do is subscribe to the channel, like a video, and post in the comments. Now, the more videos that you like, which currently I believe we have 7 or 8, including our shorts, you will get one entry into the computer hat, if you will, and we will be digitally pulling those names. I'm hoping to give away at least one really neat knife and one neat flashlight. I'm hoping that we can even do more. But we'll see how that goes. But someone will be winning a new knife and winning a new flashlight. And again, these items are purchased by us. So these aren't, gifts from anyone. We want to grow this channel together with you, our new EDC family. We're going to get into size comparisons, the second part of the video. What we do normally is we will show you a little bit of size differences with other knives. I'm going to start off, I guess, with the knife most of you will be familiar with. I brought my copper Olight out just because I also have this wonderful copper Spyderco Paramilitary 2. This one is sporting the CPM Rex 45, fantastic blade steel, and it is a user. As you can see, I've even removed the pocket clip from this particular knife because of the weight of it. It actually sits, when I carry it, it sits in my belt. But this is a compression lock knife, and this particular knife sells for about 220 USD, opposed to the 299 for the Scaphoid. It is a Spyderco knife that is made here in the USA at Golden, Colorado, at USA Earth. And it has 3.4 inches, like I said, of the CPM Rex 45. And that is done in satin. This one, again, has the copper scales. It does not have a clip on it currently, but I do have one for it somewhere. So we're going to put these two knives together. As you can see, you can absolutely see the difference in size between the Spyderco PM2 or the Paramilitary 2 and the Scaphoid. But let me be clear, the Scaphoid, even though it has a smaller profile, I'm going to be super honest with you guys, it doesn't feel like a smaller knife because it's so fantastic in the hand. You're going to get quite a bit of purchase on almost anything you do. In fact, as you can see when I have the knives deployed together, the Scaphoid actually has about a 1/4 inch more of usable blade length, sharpening length here, which is absolutely fantastic. Obviously, with the Spyderco PM2, you do get that finger choil that they're known for and the wonderful jimping up top. But as you can see from the top profile, the Scaphoid also has jimping on top, and it also has a choil area right under the flipper. And they have these two bottom choils, depending on the size of your fingers, on where they can land. So you actually, even choiled up, I know I have much more purchase here, as it looks like, but I have a full purchase on this one as well. So that's going to be the difference between these two. This would be the clip side. However, as you can see, I have removed the clip again on the Spyderco. We will put that aside for a moment. A wonderful knife that I have added to my collection recently, and we'll start with the scale side here. This particular knife is the Kaiser Brat. This is a really cool knife. It's sub $100. Usually you can find it at that. It's called the Brat Azo, or Azo. Forgive me if I got that wrong, E.D.C. family. This knife is a integral G10 knife. Pretty cool. In order to have the knife be completely integral, it does have a bolster area here where it has, I believe that's steel. I could be wrong on that, but we'll do a future video on this one. It's not all about the Brat right now. However, I want to give a size comparison. So the Brat, like I said, is $99 roughly, depending on where you can find it, made by Kaiser, a Chinese company. It boasts a 154 cm steel, nice little classic drop point here. And it's got a 3 1/5 inch blade with the integral, like I said, G10 handles and very minimal hardware, very clean looking. You've got a very usable clip on this particular knife as well. But as you can see, even though this knife is a larger knife, we're going to put them down next to each other again. And again, the Scaphoid is just, it has much more cutting room. It's incredible, especially when you're dealing with a compound, a split compound Tanto knife. Super cool. As you can kind of see from the two of them, though, you do get more usable room with that one. We're going to put the Kaiser Brett Anzo aside. And this one, I had to include in it because of the slimmer overall profile with the ability to get a full hand on the handle. This beautiful little gem here is actually a Jared Oser F22 kickstop. And yes, this kickstop is sporting the Lee Williams kickstop on it, which is where it gets its name. If you're not familiar with the Lee Williams kickstop, oh my goodness, you have to be. Please, sometime soon, look into it. Where most knives, when they're deployed, you actually have the flipper that comes out through the handle or the scales, whereas on the kickstop, after the knife is deployed, you have a completely hidden area here. Now again, with the kickstop, this is a 3.4 inch Bowler M390, beautiful, beautiful blade. And it has that vanishing flipper tab as we talked about with the Lee Williams kickstop. And another really neat thing about this is you actually get a milled titanium clip with it, as well as you would with the Scaphoid. Now, again, this is kind of a really cool comparison because these are both, they look like smaller knives, right? But they're not. They hold up with all these larger knives so well, and you don't have all that pocket room that you have to make. One more quick note, and again, we'll have a video on the kickstop here, but a little bit how that works is when you push in the back flipper tab here, as you can see, it becomes loose. So its job is to kind of use inertia to kick the blade out. And as you can see, it's basically not attached to anything. What a wonderful, wonderful invention by Mr. Lee Williams. I gotta say, and then for him to allow other makers such as Jared Oser use this. Moving on, I did want a quick add of a kind of one of the larger carryable pocket knives in my opinion, and I have big hands. This here is the Microtech MSI or Microtech Standard Issue. This one also, like the Jared Oser, has Bowler M390 blade stock, and this knife is kind of a beast. It is a humongous knife when it is in my pocket. It takes up a lot of room. As you can see, we're over a full inch larger here. We have a 3.8 inch blade is what Microtech posts. The price for this is about $250 when you can find them. But the reason I bring that up is although you get some, a beautifully done M390 blade by a fantastic USA company, Microtech, the size difference is, although super large when you're looking at it, from almost every standpoint of the knife, every side of the knife, I want to point out something. Our friend Jim, you have got, again, more usable blade length. You can't make this up, folks. I mean, no matter what you're doing, no matter what task you're doing, you have a smaller, thinner profiled knife with awesome contoured handles. I mean, the contouring and the chamfering on this is just fantastic. This knife was dreamt up by somebody who has been buying luxury knives for a long time. He has met and done business with arguably some of the best knife makers in the world. And again, I believe he hit a home run with this, and at least in the size comparison, right? I mean, who knows? We may find some issues with the knife as we delve into Carrier Barry. But in the meantime, I'm just going to give you some looks real quick here. The MSI really doesn't need to be in this size comparison. We'll kind of move it back over here for now. As you can see, we have the four knives here that are roughly all the same size blade length. And let's get them deployed here for you. Button lock deploy, flipper tab deploy, right? Kick stop flipper tab deploy, super cool. Spidey flick deploy with our compression lock on the PM2. And that's kind of what we're working with here. Okay, EDC family. Picking knives that you all will know, well, it's not that easy to line up with the Scaphoid. But before we start lining them up, I'd love to give some information on what a Scaphoid is and why, to me, it's really neat that Jim picked it. The Scaphoid is the bone of the the carpal bones on the thumb, the side of the wrist here, just above the radius, right around this area here, okay? The bone is important for both motion and stability of the wrist joint. The word scaphoid comes from the Greek term for boat because the scaphoid bone resembles a little boat with its relatively long and curved shape. Remind you of something? Well, now Jim's last name is Skelton, not unlike skeleton. It may be just my hope, but I believe that this has a deep meaning into that connection. Now let's hope Jim doesn't give us or this channel the middle phalange. I'm hoping Professor will blur this out. We would prefer to use our distal phalange, right, to flip this knife that he has designed. All right. I like to say that in section 1, I usually give information on the person or the company. The reason that this one is harder for me is the lack of information on the internet about Jim. I obviously can find things about him, but not knowing how true they are feels more like gossip in this case. Which is why section 1 does not have the usual information of the company or the designer. What I would love to share, however, is that Skelton Blade Works has been around since 2016. Before I even begin to butcher any of it, I would love for all of you to simply let you know where you can meet him and learn about not just this knife, but about his company. CanvasRebel.com has a wonderful blurb on Meet Jim Skelton. You can find it on Google, and I will link it in the description. Although we're not doing our normal teaching on the company, I truly think that after all of what Jim has done with his decades on YouTube, sharing his collection with us, enriching people, and the EDC lives of other people, to founding Skeleton Blade Works, to where it has brought me and Professor to this channel. Please do yourself a solid and check out that blurb. Check out Jim's videos and photos and see what a true inspiration to this community and what it looks like. With all that out of the way, let's dive into the part we're all here for, and hopefully Professor or myself would have put in somewhere on the screen at some point where you can jump right to this position here. And that position is, should this knife be proudly carried or buried? All right, as always, let's start with the positives, which we lovingly say here are the needs. We denote them with the pockets with the word need stitched into them. We'll usually have them somewhere over here or over here. And again, those mean the positives. If we get to 4 positives or 4 needs, we will stop and then go over the negatives, which we say here are nails, like nails in a coffin, right? Then we'll stop and do a tiebreaker if there is one. So let's see if the Jim Skelton Scaphoid should be proudly carried or buried. All right, Professor, let's warm them up. Oh, first need. That's that pocket sound. I'm sure you all heard it and seen it. First step, the first part that we've all come for is the first need. That on this knife is the blade. We've talked about it a little bit during our comparisons. Let's hear what the doctor says about S90V. For you folks at home that don't know who the doctor is, we go to knifesteelnerds.com to find out all the deets on the meats, as in the meat in the meat and potatoes. Get it? But it's not just the meat in this case, the potatoes, right? Oh, the potatoes. The Tonto compound grind is so sweet looking, mean looking, and razor sharp. It comes to a dizzying fine point and a fine edge on both the tip portion and the side portion of the blade, which is just stunning if you ask me. We're just going to say that this blade is super awesome. That sound is another need. Need number 2. This need comes with the details. In this case, the carbon fiber inlays. Everyone makes a titanium frame lock, okay? Lots of people put inlays in them, but look at how cool these ones are, okay? I'm gonna just pause this for a moment and let you get a really good look at how they actually capture around the pivot here, the pivot collar, and it's just perfectly done. You can run your fingers smoothly over this, and these are contoured as well. So it's another thing to think about. They can't just lay flat carbon fiber inlays in here, right? Like some other knives do. These are actually contoured pieces of carbon fiber done extremely well. Even on the non-show side, on the clip side, you see they're rounding the hardware, re-rounding the pivot here. My goodness, I gotta be honest with you, what a wonderful, wonderful difference to see this type of inlay being done on a pocket knife. I tell you, it brings a lot out to this. It makes it look really, really well done and fancy. And of course, we'll get into number 3. There it is, numero 3. The next part of this is the shape of the handle, okay? So I know that seems a little weird, you know, are all handles handles? Well, yeah, but as you've seen in our comparisons, some people will do one curve in the middle and then one here and one here. What Jim's managed to bring forward here is you actually have a cut out chamfered portion here for your pinky or choil portion. You have another choil right here for that other index finger. You've got a place for your hand to kind of hold on if you're doing some hard cutting. And then just under the flipper tab, you have another choiled out part. That is another choil that really gives your hand an opportunity to wrap around this. Now, as you guys get to know this channel, I really love finger choils in a blade because I like to choke up. However, with how my hand sits on this thing with the good jimping here on the spine, I actually really, really love the way this feels. Now I have bigger hands, okay? So I don't know how this will feel with somebody with smaller hands. My fingers just seem to work out on every aspect of this. I get a little bit of hot spot here where the flipper comes in. As you can see, it's turning a little bit white here. But if I pull back just a little bit, I actually can get the same feel on that and really have a lot of room to move here. It's really great. Even when it's closed, I can wrap my hands around the knife and hold it in my hand, and I almost can forget it's there. It really does a unique job with every aspect of that portion. Are we going to get to a number 4, Professor? I can't remember. Oh, that's it. That's our next need. Number 4. Yeah, that sure was. Number 4 is the hardest part to really bring through to camera, but it's the balance, okay? I guess when 1 blade and 3 is going to be more towards the handle and some blades are going to be more heavy towards the blade. The balance isn't like that on this one. It's actually going to balance out where your fingers are stopping down here. And I know that seems weird because a lot of you are going to say it should be balancing out more towards the pivot. Well, when you're choked up down this far on the knife, that balance should be lower. And man, does it feel different. When you get a lot of really heavy bladed knives that are made for cutting and stabbing and scarring and utilitarian cuts like the Tonto is, you don't want your fingers up here while you're trying to utilize that straight edge of the Tonto. You can actually get down there and get your cuts where you need them. And the balancing being lower than normal was, I don't know who thought of that, but what a great decision, because it really does bring this knife all of the balance that it needs while you're making those utilitarian cuts. Those utilitarian cuts are going to be made easily with the Scaphoid. You can make cuts almost in any dimension, including if you've got a little taper, you can go straight through. What a wonderfully balanced knife. All right, so as always, when we hit number 4, we stop. So we sure did hit 4, didn't we though, folks? You can count them up. Pockets with needs, 1, 2, 3, 4. We hit them all. So let's move over to the nail side of things. Will this be buried? Will we be putting it in the backyard? Will we be throwing it in a drawer? Will we be throwing it in the back of the safe? All right, now on the nail side of things, I know what you're all thinking. Ever since you clicked on this video, I've been all about Mr. Skelton and Skelton Blade Works. Surely I can't have any issues with the knife. Well, we do. And I got help on this because I did struggle a little bit here. Well, we're here to help you make the decision to buy or not buy this knife. We want to give honest reviews on this channel. We know that $300 isn't super easy to come by these days. Oh, I got caught up there. I almost missed Professor's nail sound. Sorry, Professor. That first nail sound you just heard is the quality control. Okay, don't get me wrong. All I said above is true about every portion of this knife. However, when the knife came to me, the detent was not very good, and I don't know how it went through quality control. Don't get me wrong. All I said before is true, but the detent on this knife when it was shipped, it should have went back through quality control. I'm really actually confused on how it got through. I was honestly considering sending the knife back to have it tuned. However, I've been hoping that oil, disassembly, and cleaning would get it done. And I think even through what we call in the knife world a break-in period would help. But the truth was my finger hurt every time I was using this knife. I mean, even I pick it up and used it once. I mean, I'm a big boy, I have big hands, but man, I was hurting. Now it's gotten a lot better. However, just something to think about. That nail sound will be number 2. So let's talk about the second issue. One of them is, I guess you can call it another quality control issue. I'm going to say I'm just being super picky, okay? I know that I'm being picky, but hey, you folks want to know the truth. This is our opinions, and to me, this is a negative. It's almost like the Mona Lisa had a booger in her nose when you were looking at this. I mean, yes, it's nitpicky, but hey, it's there. This tiny little screw that's holding the standoff together in place between the two sides of the handles. They've even done a really nice job, again, with the carbon fiber inlay, making a nice berth around it that's even on all sides. That little screw is sticking up further than any other piece of hardware on this knife. It's so bad that if I turn it sideways here, I'm hoping you can all see what I'm talking about. I've tried to tighten it down. I've gotten it down a little bit further, but I'm afraid of stripping it and ruining the knife. So we can just say right now that there, nitpicky, absolutely, 100%. But is it a thing? Yeah, it's a thing. It's gonna be a thing so much that it got that second nail. Oh yeah, that sound, that's the third nail there. So again, nitpicky, right? Okay, so this is about as nitpicky as we can get right now. Most knives, when you get them, especially in the $300 price range or close to the $300 price range, as you get in the Scaphoid, which is $299 at the time of this video, you get a sticker, a card, maybe with the born on date, signed by the designer or Jim himself, perhaps a microfiber cleaning cloth, right, to get rid of all those prophet or professor fingerprints off of your knives. Well, it came with a decent case, and it came with a little plastic baggie that the knife was in inside the black case. But other than that, there was nothing. There was no stickers. There was, no born on card, nothing. And I get it. I could only imagine what Jim's went through to get all the quality control in the other portions of this knife perfect, with the chamfering and the weight reduction and the balancing a little bit lower and all the things that he had to do to get the compound grind the way it is. But it would have been nice to get maybe a Skelton sticker, from Skelton Blade Works. It would have been nice to get a born on card. I can go without the microfiber cloths. I mean, they come with everything nowadays, but would it have been nice? Yeah. So, yeah, 2 nitpicky nails there after the flipper one, bringing us to 3. So let's listen for 4. Oh, that's right. Guys, there is no 4. Yeah, you were right. That's why we were trying to be so nitpicky. We weren't able to get to 4. I've handed this knife to knife people, to non-knife people. I've handed it to my nephews who are pretty young, and I just said, please give me something negative about the knife. And that's the 3 things we were able to come up with. So there is no 4, right? So there's no tiebreaker needed. This knife should be purchased, carried proudly, and happily. Now, you may not like the Tonto blade. You may not like a titanium frame lock. There might be things you don't like in it. But if these things do kind of stick out to you, pick this knife up. I'm happy to answer any questions about it in the comments if you're looking to purchase it. Or, just talk in the comments, right? Tell me I'm wrong. We would love to grow this channel more. So it's really nice to hear other people's views and other people's outputs. I mean, to be honest, we actually had many more positives, but we didn't need to go through them, right? We easily got there with 4, which is a first on this channel. The way this channel works, we've been talked about every episode. It's, do we carry or not carry this knife? Okay, folks, forgive the different setup here. Unfortunately, we had some technical difficulties, and we're back to finish up the video on the Scaphoid for you. To be honest, we actually had more positives, but they don't need to be brought up. You know the way this channel works. We've talked about it every episode. So, to give you the positives and negatives again, before we go on, here they are in order. So, if you remember, our needs for the Scaphoid were the meat and potatoes. Not only do we get a wonderful steel for this utilitarian blade, an S90V, but we also get a super cool compound grind Tonto style blade. Number 2, the details. The really neat carbon fiber inlays that actually even curve around the pivot. Super cool. Number 3, the comfortable handle, the shape, the weight, the chamfering, and the really neat choils at the bottom of the scales. Number 4, the unique balance for utilitarian chores. This isn't a fighting style knife. The balance is backwards, right? So it goes back towards there. So you get really into slicing, cutting, and scraping. As always, we stopped at 4 needs and went to our negative portion, which we call our nail section, like nails in a coffin. Our first nail was quality control issue. This knife was shipped with a very tough flipper due to the detent not being tuned very well when it was shipped. So it was overlooked a little bit. It took a little bit of work on our end to help get this tool usable, where it wasn't hurting my finger every time I opened it. Number 2 nail was more quality control woes, or you can call it a design flaw possibly that was overlooked. Either way, on the reverse side of the knife, there is one single screw that holds the back spacer in that actually sticks up above the scale there. Everything else is not exactly hidden hardware, but it's actually sunken in hardware. This is the one part that wasn't, and it's something that we're being a little bit nitpicky on, 100%. Number 3 nail was the lack of swag. Did we get picky with this knife? Yeah, we did. So this is our opinion, obviously. As we talked about, my big hands love this knife. So the knife didn't give any born on card. The knife didn't come with any stickers. It didn't come with any flashy things, but it did come with a nice little case. But the lack of swag was something that we wanted to bring up. So we're going to close this out, folks. So to remember, the Scaphoid here was designed by Jim Skelton. It is a very carryable utilitarian style EDC knife. I think we made our point. Get it? The super pointy blade? Our point? Okay, I digress. Remember, our 100 subscriber giveaway is coming up soon. It's getting closer every week here. We're actually loving that. We'll be giving away a knife and a flashlight from our personal collection. All that is needed for you is to be subscribed. Leave a comment on one or more videos, and you could also follow us on any of our social media platforms. All of these will give you more chances to win. For instance, you get one name in the digital hat for each follow. You also get one for each video like, and one for each comment, one per video, folks. So each time you do one of those, you will get another digital name in the hat, thus increasing your chances at winning one of the fine items we'll be showcasing next week. So keep an eye out in our next video for those. And you can find us on most social media apps by searching for @CarryOrBury. Just look for our logo. Okay, until next time, our EDC family, keep those blades sharp, right? Keep your flashlights charged. And if you're me and you're like me, keep those band-aids close. And remember, you are the best tool in your daily EDC loadout. God bless. See you next time.